Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Devedi, and in this segment today, we are going to discuss about the oil and gas price rise in Europe. This topic is important from the perspective of prelims and also from the perspective of GS mains papers. So let's begin with the topics of discussion that we are going to discuss step by step. Let's start with the news. So there has been an increase is skyrocketing when we talk about the oil and gas price in the European Union. And this is very important for the entire world because of the bouncing back from the pandemic. Many economies are starting to demand high gas, high oil, and that is why it is causing a problem. There are many other factors which are actually out of the suppliers, out of the control of suppliers, and that is why it is a cause of concern. Now, moving on, let's look at the current scenario. What is actually wrong? This is certain data. If you want to take a screenshot, I am moving away. Do it. Wholesale gas prices in Europe have risen by 250%, the result of a complex cocktail of economic, natural, and political forces. Economic in the sense that big economies in Asia, such as China and India, as they are bouncing back from the pandemic, they are unlocking step by step, and that is why it is causing a lot of demand to increase and the supply is not being able to be matched. Natural in the sense that it also depends on the energy mix of a country. Energy mix, I will tell you what is it. But in the energy mix, suppose we are talking about renewable energy which relates to wind energy. Because of the still climate, the winds are still, that is why the wind energy is not able to supply that amount of energy. And political forces where Russia is coming into the picture, that it is trying to get a quicker approval for Nord Stream pipeline part 2, and that this is why it is causing a lot of concern, that it is trying to have an approval at an accelerated rate. That is why it is denying the 41% of gas supply to Europe. Okay, and in Europe, a cold winter and frigid spring depleted gas reserves, while a long spell of still days reduced this, as I have already discussed. So because of the cold in Europe, people tend to switch on their lights at a more beginning phase of the evening and in the morning as well. And because of the cold and harsh winter, usage of heat which is generated from electricity is also much. Second reason is that. And CO2 prices a record of £62 this month, and Russia, a big exporter, has declined to increase gas supplies. In Spain, emergency measures to cap energy prices and profits have occurred, and in France, the government has pledged a one-off payment of €100 to 5.8 million households struggling to pay off their energy bills. In Italy has announced a €4.5 billion support program for consumers in the coming days. So these countries are giving incentives, not incentives. These countries are giving aid either to the suppliers or to the consumer in order to protect and shield the consumers and suppliers from the shock of the rise in prices. And Germany, wholesale power prices have risen by 50%, although some analysts say consumers have been insulated from bill shock as suppliers have many long-term fixed price contract. That means suppliers have a long time fixed price contract. They will not be able to increase the amount of prices as it is a contract. That is why in Germany it is not felt at this level. Now reason, first, the dynamic nature of the oil and gases itself. Now just like a general commodity, the importance of the price of oil and gas depends on its demand and supply. And when the demand is a lot, of course, if it is not matched by the price, there will be an increase in the price. The energy mix used in a particular country, the amount of energy that is imported, and the geopolitical conditions and environmental protection cost, all these are factors which are relating to the increase in the price of oil and gas. Energy mix actually means what is the source of producing energy in one economy's energy basket. Suppose it could comprise of coal, oil, renewable energy, nuclear energy, thermal energy and the rest. So this is energy mix, and that depends on each and every country individually. Also, the amount of energy that is imported, how much energy does a country import, that is also affecting the rise in the prices. The geopolitical conditions, such as right now in Europe, the Nord Stream pipeline 2, this is also causing a concern for the European Union, and the environmental protection cost. The European Commission's fourth report on energy prices and costs, which was released in the year 2020 in October, it said that the prices of oil and gas, it fell in 2019, and again it started falling in 2020 because of the restrictions imposed due to the lockdown. But certain countries such as Germany, they were paying a lot, and certain other countries such as Belgium, they are not paying a lot. They were not as much as affected. So there was a difference in the number, in the amount and frequency and intensity of the impact of the rise of the oil prices. And strong liquefied natural gas demand that comes from Asian countries such as India and China and the rest, low European stocks and rising carbon prices. These are certain other factors. These are outside the control of the suppliers. So market manipulation, as I talked about Russia. Russia is being alleged that Russia is trying to arm twist the faster approval of the Nord Stream pipeline 2, because it is trying to show the countries that if we do not approve that pipeline, it will cause such crises in the future as well. So Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is joining Ust-Luga from Russia to Greifswald in Germany. As you can see, it is running through the Baltic Sea. This is the first pipeline and this is the second pipeline. So the second pipeline is going to, this is 1200 kilometer long pipeline, remember this, and this is going to supply 55 billion cubics of natural gas to Germany. And along with the first pipeline, Nord Stream pipeline, first and second, these two are going to supply 110 cubic tons of natural gas to Germany. Now, this is one of the reasons it is actually having a lot of regulatory gaps that are not plugged yet in Germany, and that is why it is taking a lot of time. So Russia denying the supply to the other parts of the European Union was also one of the factors. Moving on, let's talk about the impacts. The biggest impact is the overhead cost of anything that is available in the market, as it is in the shops, and because of the rising prices for electricity, the shop owners will, of course, at the eventual level, they will put all the prices as overhead cost and put it on the consumers. So consumers will have to face, even if they do not get aid at the other commodity level, they will of course have to face the brunt of the increase in prices. Impacts for energy firms. Many big energy firms in European Union, they are very resilient they can actually have a proper mechanism for the rise in prices of oil and gas, but many are not. So it is causing a lot of distress on their own pockets as well. And political fallout. Now, these crises, as the world has already gone through so many crises, and again, if this is one of the other next crises, it will have a ramification on the political level as well. Many politicians are actually being criticized for not dealing with this issue. Moving on, if we talk about the conclusion. Now, current energy prices has of course brought out to the fore the importance of renewable energy. And renewable energy is one of the goals of the European Union when we talk about the Green Deal of the European Union. It is an arrangement to become carbon neutral by the end of 2050. And Bhutan and Suriname are the only two countries in the world which are actually carbon neutral. I'm going to write it here. Bhutan and Suriname. Okay, these are the two countries which are carbon neutral. So, European Union does want that we want to become carbon neutral, and the energy should come from clean sources so that we can have our interest in the other sources as well. So, the gas and oil prices, they will remain in the energy mix, they will still remain, but the prices won't be such as they are right now. So, at the Conference of Parties 25, this was decided that European Union's Green Deal will take place. That means preserving Europe's natural capital. Natural capital means the stock of renewable as well as non-renewable energy. A zero pollution Europe as well as sustainable transport. Climate neutrality. That means greenhouse gas emission, whatever we are emitting, it should be absorbed. Clean, reliable and affordable energy. Financing the transition. How the transition is taking place from the fossil fuels to the renewable energy. So, the transition cost is providing an infrastructure and raising awareness, providing better inputs. So, all this will have financial burden on the treasury. So, that is why financing the transition is also a lot. Then, farm to fork, that means from the agriculture to the plate of the consumers, how to provide clean agricultural products. Then transition to circular economy. Circular economy means an economy which is well equipped enough to produce and reuse, recycle its own energy sources. And towards a green cap, take everyone along. No one should be left behind. Moving on, let's look at the question. Discuss in brief the current scenario about the increase in price of gas and energy in Europe and how the Green Deal of EU could be employed in the future to tackle the issue. So write it in 250 words, okay? That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.